Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today. Why is EU citizenship so expensive? Today, we have a few reminders before we get started. Please pop your comments in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like this video, and we've also got a survey that's just in the YouTube description below. Today, we're going to be covering how much it costs to gain EU citizenship, how to lower the price of citizenship, and how citizenship can actually end up saving you money in the long term. We also do a Q&A with you, the audience, so if you have any questions, please pop them in the comment section and we will be answering them at the end of this webinar. Thank you. Today we're joined by our moderator, Eva Hussein, who's Polaron's founder and manager as well. Eva is passionate about helping people get EU citizenship and understands the process better than anyone. She's a recognised leader and regularly presents at different training institutions on the topics of citizenship, language services, and history. We're also joined by our guest speakers, Maggie and Paul. Maggie Stepien is our EU citizenship specialist team leader. She is highly knowledgeable about a range of European citizenships, as well as the process behind gaining citizenship. And Paul Wallach is a former Polaron client. He's gone through the entire process and is now looking forward to moving to Europe with his family and starting this exciting new next chapter. So thank you to both of you for joining us today. Here at Polaron, we've helped over 15,000 people obtain EU citizenship since 2003. Our clients receive a dedicated case manager and other support. So please reach out to our team if you'd like an obligation free quote about our services. And now I'll hand over to Maggie, who has a presentation for us. Thank you so much, Maggie.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for that. So I will be speaking shortly about citizenship cost. Can we go on next slide, please? So the benefits of European citizenship, I would mention that by gaining Polish or German or Czech citizenship, you're not getting access only to that one specific country. You're getting access to all 27 European Union countries. And you have that flexibility to live, study, work, and retire in Europe. And you don't have any visa restrictions. You're getting also access to subsidized healthcare, education. You're getting access to more social benefits, same as citizen which was born in the country. You're getting access to more professional, business, and investment options. And you have that stronger connection to your cultural identity. I found that many clients join the process for practical reasons, but how process goes, they build in that sentimental value as well, especially when we're discovering some information about their family. So it is definitely a very emotional process for most of our customers. Can we go? Thank you. What's involved? We can do ancestral research on your behalf. So if you have Polish, German, or Czech ancestors, but you don't have any documentation, it's not to worry, we can do that for you. So we can trace that documentation in any of those countries to supply with the application. There are different pathways to citizenship. So depending what nationality, what citizenship you're going for, we can offer you different options. For Polish, we have a confirmation of the Polish citizenship, but we have also presidential grant options, which is giving you another avenue if you are not eligible for the first one. Germany do offer quite a few different ones, a restitution for people affected by Nazi regime, or we have some other options similar to Polish confirmation as well. We do offer your citizenship support. You're going to have a dedicated case manager. So as you can imagine, there is a different people working on your application because there are different services which we need to do in order to make you a successful applicant. But for your peace of mind, you have that one person which you can reach out to ask for any update. And they're going to be across all of the different services where they stand on what we do on your behalf. All certified translations of your documentation is included in the process. Depending what process we are following, we might need to do registration of your void records as well. So that's also included. Same as any correspondence with Polish government. So if they have any questions, we are responsible to reply to them and speak to them, navigate your application on your behalf. Any updates on your case? So we're gonna be updating you accordingly when we are receiving any updates from archives or from Polish government, but also to keep you updated what's happening every few weeks. We're gonna be in touch. Of course, if you have any questions, you can reach out to your case manager and they will be always very happy to help you. In terms of cost, so that's a very difficult question. Because it depends. It depends from amount of work we do on your behalf. It depends how complex your case is. So obviously the simple rule, in more work we do, the more expensive it's gonna get. The general cost starts around $3,000 US. And depending from the process, that amount could grow a little bit. The ways to reduce, they are the ways to reduce the cost a little bit. I'm going to speak a little bit more about that later on. What's very important, what we are very proud about is that your case gonna come most probably with money back guarantee. So you have the peace of mind, the security in mind that in case something would go wrong, which I don't think is gonna happen because we are very confident you're gonna be successful, you would receive your money back guarantee. So most of our cases, I'm gonna receive the guarantee. And if we think there are any risks or challenges involved, we're gonna be very transparent about that. We're gonna have a proper discussion before we would sign you up for anything. And it's your time to decide if you want to take those risks or not.
Thank you so much, Maggie. We'll move on to the questions now.
Thank you. And I might actually start with you, Maggie. Because we are talking about a topic that's not that sexy, it's about money. And of course, it's something that everybody wants to know. But before we even get to the point where we can provide somebody with a proposal, can you just briefly tell us what happens behind the scene? Because we have like a big machine, right? That manages things like conversations with people. We assess people's chances of success, all of that. And that's all free of charge. We don't charge for that. So I just wanted to make a point to everyone that's listening about what happens before you even get a proposal from us.
So yes, Eva, it's very true, actually. It's a very generous decision from our management to make an eligibility assessment free of charge. So you don't have anything to lose. You can just reach out to us, supply all of the ancestry information, your documents, and we can assess it for you and tell you what would need to be done, how much it's gonna cost you, and how long it's gonna take. So like you mentioned, there is a proper procedure in place. So firstly, we tend to have conversation over the phone or of a video phone call with our clients to chat about the family a little bit, to understand the case, what happened when they immigrated, what was the story. After that, we're asking our clients to supply us with some information, a bit more detailed information, send us any potential documentation. And that's the time when our team is assessing everything, analyzing every single document with our experts, and we are checking if they will be eligible according to legislation of one of the countries. When we have a confirmation, we're reaching out back to the client with our proposal. And again, we might schedule another chat to present everything in a very detailed manner as well. We are presenting you with costing, we are presenting you with a description of the process as well. And that's your time to make a decision. If you want to do it, or if you have any questions, we are always there to help you with that.
Sure. So it does mean that there's probably about 10 EU citizenship specialists that talk to potential clients, answer any questions, and lead the conversation, including eligibility assessment, before we charge for anything. So thank you for answering that. And in terms of an average price, and I think we put $3,000, you did say earlier that it's quite difficult to tell people upfront how much something's going to be. But we do that, right? We give people an all-inclusive quote. We don't charge hourly rates. And I do have to smile when I look at our ads on Facebook. This is where we advertise mostly. And people will put a comment, how much? Well, it depends is the answer. But can you tell us what are some of the elements of our pricing and why can it be different between Miss X and Mr. Y?
Yes, and so the first thing which I would mention is ancestral research. So we have clients which come into us with some very basic information, no documents at all. So of course, that's going to require a lot of effort on our side. We have to do very extensive research in Poland. It can be very challenging. Poland is a very old country, so we have hundreds of years of records, and the research need to be done manually as well. So we have a team of qualified professionals which doing that on our behalf, or doing that with us. So that's gonna require a lot of expertise, a lot of our time, and that's gonna obviously have an impact on our pricing. There is a lot of things which happen during the application as well. So application is not as easy as just filling out one form with some basic details. We have to build a special narrative. We have to strategize the ancestral information as well to present it to governments in the manner that they're gonna issue a positive decision. So that's gonna take a lot of time. It takes a lot of expertise. We have team members in Poland or Germany or in Czech Republic, which used to work for the governments, and they have the inside knowledge. They know how to navigate those legislations. They know how to work around certain rules. The additional thing is that in terms of cost, it depends how far back we're going into generation as well. As you can imagine, if we are going back to your great-great-grandparents, there is a lot of translations which we need to do on the way, and that's going to have an impact on the costing as well. For Polish process, for example, if you are married, if you are divorced, that can have an impact on the pricing because it's the requirement to register marital status changes. So depending from your marital status, you might need to pay a little bit more for that. And I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So essentially, just to summarize what you've said, we guarantee outcomes of people's applications. We give them a fixed price. So what happens behind the scenes is sometimes a lot more than what people have paid, but we want to have a transparent and easily sort of manageable process for people, and don't charge hourly rates, or we don't send additional invoices. So everything's kind of compact and manageable as of, you know, whenever people start working with us and decide to work with us. What happens behind the scenes, I'll just add, is a lot of bureaucracy, and it is in language. So whether we're dealing with German or Czech or Polish governments, they expect all the correspondence to be done in the language of the country. So we are kind of the middleman, but sometimes we need to present arguments. So I should explain that, and often people ask, oh, should I work with a lawyer? There's no a case in a court that we have to attend. So all of these procedures that we mentioned are administrative, and they're based on the documentation we supply. So when I say we argue with the governments, we do so very politely. Wherever we can, we go with what they're asking us to do. But sometimes we form a different opinion about a certain aspect of someone's application, meaning that we need to push a particular point across so that the application can be approved. So all of that is included. We often physically, personally go to different offices, whether it's Prague or Warsaw, and have meetings with case officers, you know, just to try and iron any stumbling blocks or any impediments or any questions that the governments might have. So thank you for that, Maggie. I wanted to bring Paul in now. He is by far our favorite client. Now everyone's our favorite client, but Paul is truly someone really special. We started working with him some years ago, And it was one of the more difficult cases. And I think, it's fair to say that it was frustrating, took forever. But in the end, we got his citizenship through. And he is about, in 33 days, not counting Paul, right? About to move to Europe and has made a life-changing decision. So I wanted to ask you, Paul, to maybe tell people that are listening to us right now and watching this webinar about how it was. Firstly, what made you decide to proceed with this process? Like, what drove you to explore this opportunity?
Well, first off, thanks for having me here today, Ava, and everybody else. I made the decision almost 7 years ago that I wanted to move to Europe. And I wasn't sure how it was all going to work out. There were a lot of big details that needed to be worked out. For example, could I get citizenship, or was I going to have to get a visa and do it, so shall we say, the way most people have to do it, like move to the country, be scrutinized by the government, have to renew it every year or every couple years. And I would have done it if that was the only option. But when I started my research on how I could potentially move to Europe, I came across Polaron and realized that perhaps through descent, I could gain citizenship, which would make my life so much easier than doing it, shall we say, the old-fashioned way.
I see. And with your particular case, I hope you don't mind if I say it. The reason that it was complicated is because your ancestors left Poland before 1918, before Poland became Poland. So those kinds of cases are more challenging because we were needing to supply extra documents and find certain proof of certain things to satisfy the requirements of the Polish government. So this is one of the reasons why it took longer than someone whose family would maybe immigrated, more recently.
Well, there's that. And then also, we did this during COVID.
Yes.
So a lot of offices were closed for extended periods of time, both in my home country, which is the United States, as well as in Poland. So I think that the process took a lot longer because of the pandemic, quite honestly.
Yeah, that's true. And we kind of moved on from that, but we were also very uncertain about what was going to happen in different countries had different rules. And, for the most part, Poland was open, but we had many offices in the US that were not operational, essentially. So that kind of added to things. Paul, I wanted to ask you about the life-changing decision of moving to Europe. Because, as you said, there are ways of, applying for visas and going through immigration process. But as a citizen, what kinds of freedoms does it give you? What can you do that you couldn't do on a visa, or how does it make the process easier?
That's a really loaded question. And I know we don't have 4 hours for this webinar because I could talk for 4 hours. So I'm going to give you guys the condensed version.
Yeah.
To say that it has made my life easier is like the understatement of the century. When I go to Europe, which I have since I received my Polish citizenship, I do not have to respect the 90-day rule, which is, if you're not a European citizen, you can only stay in the European Union for 90 days maximum, or I don't know what can happen. Maybe you can get fined. Maybe they can refuse you from coming back to the European Union. I don't really know, and I wouldn't want to find out. I don't need to worry about that. I can literally and will be picking up and moving to Europe, and I don't ever need to leave. I mean, I'm a citizen of Poland, which is a member of the European Union. I'm not actually going to be living in Poland, but I'm going to be living in the European Union. And as such, I'm afforded such incredible benefits as universal health care as a European citizen, which is free in at least in France. My children can attend university, which is also free in Europe. I'm planning on moving to a major city in France where they have incredible public transportation. So I will no longer need to have multiple vehicles, which is a huge savings as well, because I can use the great public transportation. And just a better quality of life of what I really am looking forward to, a better work-life balance, better food, just more healthy.
Thank you. And a little while ago, you wrote an email to me just explaining that your daughter, I hope you don't mind us saying this, is doing a PhD. And that's amazing. Is she going to be the first doctor in your family?
Seems that way, yes.
Aha. They must be immensely proud. But there's a massive cost saving related to her getting her PhD. Is that right?
Well, to get a PhD in the United States, at a major university, which is probably going to be required if you want to be taken seriously, it's expensive. I mean, it's a 5-6 year process. It can be $60,000-$70,000 a year. So we're talking, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whereas in Europe, the only thing that you'd have to pay is for the cost of living, which is, probably about $1,000 a month. Like that's about it. I mean, the tuition is free if you're European. Incredible.
So that's super beneficial. And Maggie, in terms of the actual expense, what are some of the tips you could share with our audience about how to make it cheaper? Of course, you can negotiate with us. Everybody does. I think we used to that. But what are some of the things that people could do to make the process more cost-effective, but also more efficient?
Sorry.
Paul.
I watch a lot of YouTube videos about ways in which to obtain European citizenship. And I think without a doubt, if you can find a way to be eligible for citizenship through descent, it is without a question the least expensive way to go. I mean, they have these citizenship for sale, for example, like you can become a citizen of the European Union in Malta with a $1 million investment. It's not, I mean, they want you to give a gift to the Maltese government of $1 million US, or maybe it's 1 million euros, which is even more money. It's probably euros. So that's not too cheap. Or, a lot of countries will require that you live there for a minimum of 5 years before they will even consider offering you citizenship. And you're going to need to learn the language and take all kinds of courses to learn about the history and the civics of that country in that language. I don't speak a word of Polish, and it's a very difficult language from what I've heard. I don't think I could do it. Like if I had to move to Poland for 5 years and learn Polish, and I mean, I probably would just give up, honestly. I don't think I would do it.
So it is a great pathway for those of us that are lucky to be able to pursue it. And Maggie, in terms of your tips on how to make the process more efficient, we've got lots of questions online, so we'll get to them in a moment. But one of them is, how do you make things faster? How do you make things cheaper?
So the first rule I would say is speak with your family. Ask them if they have any information, any documentation. If you want to, if you're thinking about reducing the cost because you are in a financial hardship, the first thing is to check if your family has any documentation. So we would not need to do ancestral research. Ask them also if they want to do the process with you. We can offer you a family discount. We can some of the process can be shared in between you, so we can reduce the cost a little bit. So those would be my main tips on those. And that's
And to make things faster, because the governments work at their own pace, and of course these processes, as Paul's already mentioned, do take some time. What would be some of the things that people could do to speed things up a little?
Well, first of all, supplying us with your personal documentation as fast as possible, getting those organized and into us so we can speed up the process on our side and just work on it a little bit more efficiently. What we can be struggling a little bit with, or clients are struggling with, is gaining the information from the family or different sources. So if that process could be done on a bit better, timely manner, that would definitely speed up process overall.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And the title of this entire webinar is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. We called it "Why is Citizenship So Expensive?" But from what I'm hearing and what I know in terms of what happens behind the scenes, it's not that expensive in terms of what you get, right?
No, it's not. So it's not the expression I would use. So it's not a visa application. You're getting your citizenship, you're getting access to 27 countries and, countries which lead in the world as well. So you're getting a lot of benefits, financial benefits as well. So I would definitely not say that cost is an expensive one.
And it's for life, right, Paul? Citizenship's for life.
That's what I've heard. And I did get citizenship for my two daughters through you guys as well. So we're all Polish now. And they can pass that on to their children one day. It's just like as if you are an American or you are an Australian, you have that passport and it can never be taken away from you. There's just no way. And you can't be granted or denied access into your country. You just can't.
And you can have both, as you say. Just last week, Germany also changed their laws where they now relaxed the rules around dual citizenship. So in the end, of course, there's all the financial benefits that we've mentioned. But for you, Paul, did that bring you closer to your ancestors? Was there another element of the process that kind of was priceless, if I can put it that way?
Well, my family left Poland around 1910. So it was before World War I, and Europe, well, at least that part of Europe was really horrible. It was a really bad place, very poor, no opportunities, and they left because I don't think they had a choice. They really just, if they wanted to survive, they had to get out of there. And they moved to America, and we've been in America, my family, for over 100 years now. I think I'm third generation American. But the thing that was really amazing and surprising actually to me about becoming, or the process of becoming a Polish citizen, was all the research that I did with Polaron and also independently about my family and learning about them. And, I just had no idea a lot of things about them. And, a lot of them died way before I was born. But quite honestly, through the process, I feel like I know them now. Like they came back alive through this process, and they're not just like a name anymore. Like I feel like they're real people.
They've kind of come alive in a way. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that, Maggie and Paul. We've got about 10 minutes and lots of questions. Like, I've never seen this many questions. Stephanie, over to you. We'll probably have time for a few questions.
Yes, we definitely have a lot. So if anyone has a question that we haven't gotten to, please contact our team because we're more than happy to answer all of them. So to start with, are there any additional costs such as government fees that people have to pay when they come to Polaron?
So I might check that one on. No, our quotes, our proposals are all inclusive. There's a few things that we cannot pay for. One of them would be things like your birth certificate. For privacy reasons, we can't, act on your behalf in your home country. So if there's a fee for getting a duplicate birth certificate, you need to cover that, and also the cost of a passport. But other than that, we tend to include absolutely everything. That includes translations, liaison with the government, responding to requests, any additional research that needs to be done. But there are just a couple of little things that are not included. Everything else is.
Great. And how long does the citizenship process usually take? I'm guessing by descent for this question.
Yeah, so look, it depends on what nationality. It depends what process. It can range from 9 months to 2 years, depending on which pathway. I think with Paul, with you, that took a bit longer because of the pandemic and also the complexity of your case. Look, to be perfectly transparent, the longest case we've ever done took 10 years. One day we'll have time to tell you why, but typically it's around, between 12 and 18 months overall.
Great, thank you, Eva. And we sort of answered this one, but can I pass my Polish citizenship on to my children?
We can, yeah, you can. And in fact, there's no limit on generations. So Polish and other citizenships that in Europe, if they are through descent, the way they are set up is that it passes on to future generations with no limit. Germany has got one particular pathway that's going to finish in 2030, I think, or 2031. But other than that, those pathways are unlimited and any future generations can benefit.
And do you find better success submitting an application through Polaron or via a consulate office when someone is outside of the target country? Yeah,
look, good question. So, look, some people have cases that are so easy that we would personally say to them, just go through the consulate. So, if you were born in the country and all you have to do is supply a few documents, there's no value that we can add to your journey. Some consulates are slow, overworked, underpaid, all of that. So some people find it really frustrating dealing with consulates. So we, and also they, how can I say that politely, but they do not really care about the outcome of your application in that they're just an agent. So a consulate will tell you what documents you need to give them, but they send it for processing to their home country. And there's very little they can do in terms of follow-ups or we have seen consulates providing incorrect information because some of these laws we're talking about, for example, for Germany, Austria are quite new. So we do not deal with consulates as much as sometimes that can sound like an attractive option because they, in Australia, America, or whatever, because they do not do the processing of the application, they send it on. So there's someone in Germany, in Poland, in Czechia, in an office that will process the application. So, and as far as success rate, I don't know what the comparable figures are. The governments don't really release them. All I can tell you is that for Czech, we had 100% success rate. For German, we've only had one rejection and it's being appealed. So it's like 99.7%. And Polish quite similar for confirmation of citizenship. So all that Maggie spoke about just earlier about, gathering documents, reviewing your case, working with our compliance teams is so that that really high, clearance rate is preserved, and we can with confidence guarantee the outcome of your case. Consulates don't do that.
Thanks so much, Eva. Maybe have just time for one or two more questions.
Go for it.
So as part of the process, do Polaron tell us what we need to send in respects to documents?
Yes. Sorry for hogging the space, but I'll just explain that what happens is once you decide to proceed with our service, we will assign a case manager to your case so that you have one person to ask questions of, liaise with. This person will hold what we call a kickoff meeting. Usually it's online like this, via Zoom or Teams or whatever. And we explain to you step by step of what's required. Because it is a symbiotic relationship in a way. We do rely on people to provide us with things like their birth certificates, copies of their passports. These are not the things we can do. But we offer a lot of guidance, a lot of support. Some of our clients have really curly cases in that there are adoptions, there are divorces, goodness, there are mistaken identities. There's like all kinds of things in people's backgrounds that we need to navigate. So we would unravel all of that with them. And after the kickoff meeting, there are regular updates, and we keep in touch with the applicant, advise them of different stages that the process may be at, including any questions from the government, if there are any. And in the end, the successful outcome is a certificate of citizenship, sometimes vital records. So, for example, in Paul's case, there was a birth certificate that we needed to register for him in Poland. And so the birth certificate and the certificate of citizenship then enable you to apply for a passport. So we send clients a pack of documents that they then take to the consulate and submit.
Okay. I'll just ask one more question, because we have had a few questions about spouses. So if someone becomes a European citizenship, how can their spouse stay with them in Europe?
Look, it's a bit of a complex space for a couple of reasons. One is that you no longer acquire citizenship through marriage in any of the European countries. You used to be able to. Mm-hmm. So that kind of extinguished or finished in 1940s, early 1950s. So if you marry a European, it doesn't automatically give you citizenship. And some countries do not recognize common law marriages. Some countries still do not recognize same-sex marriages. And also children born out of same-sex relationships. Poland's got a new government, and they are looking currently at changing that legislation. It's an election promise they made to make the common law relationships legal.
Sorry, Eva's just frozen there. But hopefully that answers people's questions today. And again, if you've got any questions that haven't been answered here, then please just pop them through to our email. Oh, she's coming back. Okay, well, we might leave it for the moment, but thank you so much, Eva. And thank you so much, Paul and Maggie. It's been amazing having you here to speak to us today. So if you have any questions, our emails are up there on the screen. So please email us, please call us. If you've registered for this webinar, we'll also send you some booking links so that you'll be able to speak with our team, and they'll be able to answer any questions you have, help you on the right pathway to citizenship, and help you get that EU passport in the end. So thank you everyone so much. It's been amazing having both the speakers here today as well as Eva. Thanks everyone.
Yeah, apologies, internet. What can I say? 2024, my apologies. But look, the curly questions about things, marriages, adoptions, please do get in touch. We do have experts that are able to answer any of those questions that are a bit more complex. But I also wanted to thank everybody for participating, particularly for Paul, and wish you all the very best with the move. I am coming to visit. I don't know when, but I will, drop in and say hi one of these days. And Maggie, thank you for allocating your time to this webinar. Much appreciated.